strategically.
This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Coming to you live from the Circa Sportsbook here in downtown Las Vegas. I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, on a Monday night filled with playoff action. We are just getting underway in the second half between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. Oklahoma City had a 60-50 lead at the break, and they were a 2.5-point favorite for the second half. The Thunder, who opened up at around 9 to 9.5 point favorites for this game, saw money coming in on them left and right. They closed here at Circa, as an 11-point favorite in this game, with the closing total of 229.5. And so, as I mentioned, they were up by 10 at the half, 2.5-point favorites for the second half, which made them 12.5-point favorites on the live line. They closed as 11-point favorites. Looking at the live line right now as we are just getting underway in the third quarter, the Thunder with a 62-52 lead over the Nuggets. They are now 13.5-point favorites in your live total of 223.5. Now, the Thunder were in a great situation coming into this game, because if you just looked at the history of playoff teams that had 8 days of rest, and my database goes back all the way to 2002, teams that have 8 days of rest, which is what the Thunder have here, 5-3, both straight up and against the spread, covering the spread by 6 points per game. They're winning the games on average by 10 points per game. But now, throw in the factor that the Denver Nuggets are coming off the Game 7, and that's typically a fade spot. You want to fade the teams that are coming off of the Game 7, because that's, the Game 7 hangover, plus they're fatigued. They just went through the grinder of a long series, and they put themselves in a situation where they have one day off. And say what you will about the NBA scheduling, like, this is what happens. They won a Game 7. They didn't get much time off. You got to go travel and then play Game 1 of your next round series. That's your punishment for going 7 games. You want more rest? Don't go 7 games. But the Thunder came into this game on 8 days rest, and the Nuggets came in on 1 day of rest. In the history of the database that goes back to 2002, so we're talking the last 23 years of NBA playoff action, it's only happened 4 times. The previous 4 times, the team that had the rest, 4-0, both straight up and against the spread, winning the games by an average of 24 points per game and covering the spread by 14.9 points per game. All signs pointed to the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. I was not afraid of laying the big number. I laid it before the game. Well, I laid it yesterday when it was 9.5. And then I doubled down on them here at the half after watching them get out to a 60-50 lead. I went ahead and I took them minus 2.5 for the second half. Right now, the Thunder are expanding their lead slightly, 67-54. They lead the Nuggets. Denver has called a timeout. 10 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Your live line is now OKC minus 15.5, and I would not be surprised if this winds up being at least a 15-point win. But I can see this being a 20-point victory for the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're just too good, and they're in too great of a situation in the game tonight. Feel bad for Denver all you want, but they put themselves here in this spot by having to play a Game 7, whereas the Thunder were coming off of the sweep. Elsewhere in the NBA playoffs earlier, the Knicks shocked the Celtics and won outright as 9-point dogs, 108-105 in overtime, thanks to a massive comeback in the second half. Now, I went on this network multiple times, and I said, you know what? Knicks plus 9, that's great play. It's disrespectful, this many points. The Celtics this year were not a good team covering big spreads. They were under 500 as 8 or more point favorites, even worse as 9 or more point favorites. So when you looked at this playoff line, and I know that the Knicks were 0-4 against the Celtics this year during the regular season, but this was too many points to lay in the playoffs, just like it was too many points in Game 1 between the Cavs and the Pacers. Now, in that game, I didn't take it with the Pacers. I should have. I wish I did. I wish I had them on the money line. I wish I had Knicks on the money line. Imagine that two-team parlay. Knicks money line and Pacers money line for those Game 1s. But I thought the 9 points was too disrespectful here to the New York Knicks and for a Boston Celtics team that hasn't proven. I know they're a championship team, and they're probably still going to go to the NBA Finals and represent the Eastern Conference. In fact, that's my pick. They are going to the NBA Finals and representing the Eastern Conference. But that doesn't mean that they cover big spreads. And they failed to do so, missing, 45 three-pointers? They shot 15 of 60 from three-point range in this game. And that's what happens when you live by the three and you die by the three. The Celtics were the team in the NBA that shot the most three-pointers by far all season long. Every game. In this game, they didn't have it. You want to call it rust, you want to call it whatever you want to call it, the Knicks defense, whatever. But the Knicks, with a big-time comeback in the second half, 55 points for the Knicks in that second half prior to the overtime, compared to just 39 points for the Boston Celtics. And for anyone that had the under 213 like myself, we pushed, even though it went to overtime. I tweeted it out. You guys can follow me on Twitter, @ScottsOnAir. I said, they don't call it undertime, and I was preparing myself for the loss. But somehow, miraculously, with a live total of 223.5 prior to overtime beginning, the game lands on 213 as the Knicks outscore the Celtics 8-5 in that overtime period. And the Celtics had the ball with 5 seconds or so remaining, or even less than that, 3 seconds, chance to tie the game with a three. I thought the Knicks might foul, but Tibbs is not usually a foul up three guy, and I was happy that he didn't, because obviously the Knicks stole the ball. There was no foul on either side. The game ended 108-105. It pushes on the total of 213. Actually, looking across the board, there were some spots that had 213.5, and if you did play the under 213.5, that is an incredible win for you. Incredible win. The game opened at 212.5, was pushed up slightly to 213, 213.5 in some spots. Here at Circa, it was 213, and the Celtics -9. But the Knicks win outright, now have a 1-0 lead in this series. And taking a look at the series prices, no surprise. Much like the Cavaliers, a -210 favorite in their series against the Pacers despite losing Game 1. The Celtics -300 favorites against the Knicks despite losing Game 1. The Celtics were -800 prior to this series beginning. And a bet that I talked about here on VSiN that I played myself was the over 5.5 games because it was plus money. They were giving you plus money on over 5.5 games, just no respect whatsoever for the New York Knicks. I mean, I figured the Knicks get one at the Garden. I didn't expect them to win a Game 1 here on the road, but I figured, hey, if you steal one on the road, at some point in this series, the Knicks are going to get one game at Madison Square Garden. This is going 6. Celtics are going to win in 6. The over 5.5 right now is -250. If you think the Celtics win the next 4 games in a row, it's plus 200, but that's just, you're not going to make that bet. What you would do is you would just bet the Celtics on the money line and just roll it over every single game. Because even though they're a massive favorite in game number 2, 9.5-point favorites, which is up from the 9 points that they were here in game number 1, you could still bet the -455, take that, $22 profit off your $100 bet, then bet your $122 on it again, and then again and again on the 4 straight games, you're going to get more than your plus 200 payout. You got to do the math when it comes to these things. Most of the time, if not all of the time, just the money line rollover pays you more than these futures are going to pay out. But that is your price right now. The Celtics for the series, minus 300. The Cavs down 1-0 in their series, minus 210. And same thing that we see in the Cavs game, and it actually has been bet down. The Cavs, who were 8.5 to 8.5 point favorites in game number 1, when they lost game 1, were pushed up to 9.5 point favorites for game 2. Now, I get the zigzag, of course, comes into play. And that has been an extremely profitable trend here in this postseason. In fact, in all postseasons, you go back, just playing the team that lost to cover the spread in the next game has been a profitable strategy. But the books are taxing you on it. So they pushed this up to 9.5. Right away, it gets snatched up. People bet the Pacers. It is now down to 9. Will the same thing happen with the Celtics, who jump up from a 9-point favorite to a 9.5 point favorite for game 2? Will people take the 9.5 with the Knicks, or does this spread go even higher? Something that we're going to have to monitor. Meanwhile, we are monitoring what's going on in OKC. Little run here from the Denver Nuggets. Couple of threes being made. It is now a 7-point game, 71-64. The Thunder lead the Nuggets. Thunder right now are a 9.5 point favorite on your live line. Your live total of 224.5. And not worried about my bets. I'm not worried about the Thunder covering. This is the natural runs that occur over the course of an NBA game, especially here in the third quarter. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. You can hit us all up on the network at VSiN Live. Taking a look right now, 6:41 to go in the third quarter. The Thunder with a 73-64 lead over the Nuggets. Live line is back up to Thunder minus 12.5. Your live total 224.5. 2 games in progress in Major League Baseball. The Mets are at the Diamondbacks. They're in the 6th inning there in Arizona. Mets having a 2-1 lead thanks to a Pete Alonso mammoth home run. He had great numbers coming into this game against Ryan Nelson, but Alonso homers. Mets with a 2-1 lead as your live total is 6.5 right now as that game is into the 6th inning there in Arizona, top of the 6th inning. And as someone who played the over, I certainly would like some more runs in this game. I also played the over in the game in Sacramento between the A's and the Mariners. Seattle with a 4-2 lead right now in the top of the 4th inning. Your live total is 11.5. So I'm not worried about my over 8.5 because I think we'll get there. It's not just because it's Sacramento and runs are scored there, but the Mariners offense has just been tremendous to start this season, led by Cal Raleigh, who is, my goodness, leading the majors in home runs. I mean, that guy is off to an incredible start this season. Want to remind you guys that Prophet X is offering the best odds on baseball all season long. Prophet X is a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in 40-plus states, the first of its kind in the U.S. You'll be able to make your sports picks against other group of fans rather than against sports books. And exchanges guarantee you the best odds on average by 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds. Download Prophet X today with code VSiN and earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. So we'll monitor what's going on there in the Major League Baseball games, the 2 that are in progress, and we're hoping for lots and lots of runs being scored. If you played an over in the Stanley Cup playoff game that we saw here on Monday night, well, you cashed rather easily. The Toronto Maple Leafs take a 1-0 series lead over the Florida Panthers thanks to a 5-4 victory on home ice. You could have gotten the Toronto Maple Leafs at around plus 105 prior to the game. The total was 5.5, and it flew past the total. The storyline coming out of this game, though, is the health status of Toronto starting goaltender Anthony Stolarz, who took an elbow to the head from Sam Bennett of the Panthers. There was not a penalty on the play, but he exited the game, and Joseph Wall had to take over in relief. And Wall did his best. He allowed 3 goals. One of them came with the extra attacker at the end of the game. So if you want to give him a little leeway for that, let's just say it was 2 goals allowed on 20 shots. But no, he did allow 3 goals. And as I mentioned, one of them came late. Stolarz just 1 goal allowed on 9 shots against. And according to reports, Stolarz on the bench vomited before heading to the locker room and had to be taken out of the arena to seek medical attention. Now, when I hear that, I am not a doctor. I am not going to speculate. To me, that it reeks of concussion. Right? You're talking about a guy who vomited after taking a hit to the head. It just, again, we're using a little deduction here. Sounds like concussion. No comment was made from Sam Bennett after the game. Panthers did not make him available to speak to the media. But the question is now, can Toronto win this series without their starting goaltender, without Anthony Stolarz? Now, prior to the Stanley Cup playoffs beginning, I went through a process of going through a formula of what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. With the help of my trusty assistant, artificial intelligence, we looked at every single article that was written about commonalities between Stanley Cup champions over the last 20 to 25 years. And I took those articles, summed them up, looked at the categories, added my own little spin on things, and I came up with 6 categories that determine a Stanley Cup champion. One of them being elite goaltending. And when I looked at elite goaltending, the way that I came up with my list was I made a composite ranking of your goals against average and goals saved above expected, which is an analytical stat that a lot of, hockey analytic people use to determine how good a goaltender is. How many goals are you saving above what you are expected to prevent? And Anthony Stolarz ranked 3rd in my composite rankings amongst the goaltenders in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Connor Hellebuck was number 1, and boy, we saw what a journey he went on in the first round against St. Louis, getting pulled in every game on the road. But Anthony Stolarz ranked 3rd in my composite rankings. And he was one of the main reasons why the Toronto Maple Leafs, in my final grading of who can be a Stanley Cup champion, actually ranked 7th. Tied for 6th, in my rankings. Tied for 6th in my rankings. And looking at my rankings, number 1, the Capitals, but I put a little asterisk because of the injury to Logan Thompson, although he played really well in the first round, so I think he's fine. But we have the Capitals number 1, the Jets number 2, the Oilers number 3, Panthers number 4, the Lightning number 5. We knew that one of those teams was going to have to be eliminated because they played each other, so the Lightning are now out. VGK 6, the Leafs 7th. So those are the top 7. Out of the top 7, guess what? It shows me that this ranking is not BS because out of the top 7, 6 are still alive here in the postseason. Crazy, right? Here's what we have. Capitals, still alive. Jets, still alive. Oilers, still alive. Panthers, VGK, Toronto. Well, Toronto wins game number 1. Great for them. I have concerns that they can go on and win this series with Joseph Wall being their netminder. In fact, let's just look at this season to see the difference between the 2 goaltenders. So if we look at the regular season this year, Anthony Stolarz ranked 4th in the NHL in goals saved above expected with 25.8. Joseph Wall actually ranked 11th, but it was significantly less, 16.8. So it's clearly a downgrade from Stolarz going to Wall. As far as your goals, your expected goals against average, or actually let's look at the goals against average on the year. for our guy, Anthony Stolarz, who, as I mentioned, was fourth in the NHL in goals saved above expected. He was at a 2.14, and his teammate Joseph Wall, a downgrade at 2.73. The odds right now on this series will certainly favor the Toronto Maple Leafs after winning game number 1. They are minus 125 in this series. Now, coming into this series, and we still have this for the other 3 series that have not begun yet, but all 4 road teams, so the teams without home ice advantage, were the favorites. The Oilers are slight favorites over the Knights, the Hurricanes favorites over the Capitals, the Stars favorites over the Jets, and the Panthers were favorites over the Leafs. Well, now that Toronto has won game 1, we've had a flip. Toronto is now minus 125, and the Panthers are plus 105 to win the series. And I'll be honest, I don't like Toronto's chances if they're going to be without Stolarz for an extended period of time. If it is a concussion, if he's not able to play in game 2, if he's not able to play on the road in game 3, I have serious, serious questions. Right now, your odds for game number 2 coming up on Wednesday. The Panthers minus 125 and your total of 5.5. The way that I would look right now, kind of the way like I looked tonight with the over, and I also was on the Leafs tonight, I won't be on the Leafs in this game unless it's Stolarz. I don't think Stolarz is going to be in net. I'd go the over 5.5 just because I don't trust Joseph Wall like I do Anthony Stolarz. But we do have 2 game 1s coming up tomorrow. We're going to have plenty of time to break those down. The Hurricanes at the Capitals and the Edmonton Oilers here in Vegas against our Golden Knights. And we are monitoring what's going on here in OKC. Nuggets being a little feisty right now. 82-76. Thunder lead Denver with 3:29 to go in the third quarter. Your live line is Thunder minus 8.5. I still believe the Thunder have another run in them and wind up pulling away and winning this convincingly by maybe 15 or so. So I was comfortable laying it before the game. I was comfortable laying the additional points at the half. I do think the Thunder go on to kind of, I see them dominating here for the remainder of this game, especially into the fourth quarter. But Denver, feisty team right now, outscoring the Thunder 27-22 here in this third. We'll get to more NBA preview. The games coming up for tomorrow. We're going to be joined coming up next by Brad Thomas from NBC Sports Bet. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. This is Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, as the third quarter is winding down, and the Nuggets, thanks to a couple of big shots here, Russell Westbrook 3 has pulled them within 5, 90-85, the Thunder lead with just seconds remaining here in the third quarter. I think we might have a fourth quarter bet up our sleeves. Let's talk about that and what's coming up tomorrow as well in the NBA playoffs. Joining us now on the Progressive Guest Line from NBC Sports Bet is Brad Thomas. Brad, thanks so much for joining us here on Cashing Out on VSiN. You've been watching the way that this Thunder game with the Nuggets has played out. Right now, 90-85, the Thunder lead the Nuggets after three quarters. What do you think happens here in the fourth quarter?
I think the Thunder pull away here probably early in the fourth quarter, like they've done pretty much all season. Nuggets have been a pretty bad fourth quarter team this season. I know we talked about it off air, and I was, it's one of those just statements you make, and then you actually look it up, and you're like 18th in the NBA in fourth quarter scoring, primarily due to that, those non-Jokic minutes, and then they kind of try to have to rebound from there. That feels like they're playing catch up.
I would look at, now I'm going to look at the books here and see what we have. Live number on the game right now is Thunder minus 7.5. So we're saying minus 2.5 for the fourth quarter. I actually like that bet. Now, I'm somebody that's already in on the Thunder with the spread in multiple ways. So I'm obviously hoping that they win the fourth quarter by more than 3 points. but I would lay it right now. I think I would take the live line on the -7.5. I do agree with you. I think the Thunder do pull away. If we're looking at a total here in the fourth quarter, I'm seeing right now 54.5. And for the team totals, Thunder 28.5, Nuggets 25.5. Any of those jump out to you?
50. I'd probably go with 54.5. Especially like this is one of those situations where if the game can stay around that 5 to 7 mark, you'll get a couple extra points in late possession games. Fouling might be involved, faster play by either team. When we talked about this, if it would have been around a 10-point game, I probably would have stayed away from the total because then OKC would have slowed it down a little bit as the quarter closed. But I think what you said, 54.5, I imagine it probably opened at 53 when it first was out. So yeah, I'd probably take over 54.5.
I was thinking either that or going with the Thunder team total over 28.5. Like the Thunder scored 27 in the first quarter, 33 in the second, 30 points in the third quarter. Now, what's more likely to be sustainable? I don't think the Nuggets score 35 in the fourth like they did in the third, but I do think the Thunder are capable of scoring a 30 spot once again.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're capable of doing it. For me, I just want to be able to have both sides of the action going, especially the Thunder. For this entire game, they've looked like they've had that, long break rust, especially on the defensive side. Kind of hard to lock in. A little bit of momentum by the Nuggets. Take the points, take the total over, I think, for both teams instead of just isolating one in this situation. Maybe you get lucky and you don't even have to worry about which team gets hot.
Well, you sold me because I'm going in right now on the over 54.5 for the fourth quarter. As Brad Thomas from NBC Sports Bet joins me, Scott Seidenberg here on the Progressive Guest Line. It's cashing out on VSiN, the sports betting network. The Knicks upset the Celtics. They win outright. I didn't see that happening. I did take the 9, but I didn't see them winning outright here. But the series price still massively favored for the Boston Celtics. If you are looking at now how this series is going to play out based on game one, how confident in you are you in the Celtics moving forward, or do you think the Knicks can continue to give them fits?
I'm pretty confident in the Celtics, right? Like at one point, the Celtics were up over 20 points in that game. When you're a team that takes the most threes in the entire NBA and makes the most threes in the entire NBA, you will have variance that's going to hit you, and there's going to be negative variance at times. They set a record most three-pointers missed in a playoff game, over 45 threes missed. It's going to happen. I also think it came down to shot selection to close the game out. Yes, you're a team that shoots a ton of threes, but if you're Jason Tatum and you get the Jalen Brunson switch on you, there's no reason you should be taking step back Jays. You put him in the post and make him work, at the very least, get to the foul line. Jason Tatum, he will really regret that. I remember last time checking when I was watching the game, he was like 4 for 12 from 3 and then didn't make a 3 after that point. So I think they'll be better. I think they still win the game in 6. I thought they were going to win the game in 6 the entire time. I thought the price of Knicks plus 2.5 at plus 140 in the series spread was absolutely ridiculous. That's just the Celtics for you. Sometimes they play with their food in the playoffs, even if they're the better team.
I took the over 5.5 before the series started because you were getting plus money on that. And I felt that was like, I couldn't believe how disrespectful it was thinking that this was going to be an early series because I figured the Knicks would get one at the Garden, maybe win both games 3 and 4 at home. I don't know. I just figured they'd get at least one at the Garden. And then if you could just steal one game somewhere along the line in this series, the Celtics win in 6 and you cash that over 5.5 at plus money, or as you mentioned, the series spread at plus 2.5 games. Same bet. Loved it both ways. Also, the Cavaliers, much like the Celtics, losing as 9-point favorites in game number 1 to the Pacers, and much like the Celtics, lined at a 9.5-point favorite in game 2. Pacers got up to 9.5. The Cavs got up to 9.5. Little pushback now. They are back to 9-point favorites. The zigzag obviously coming into play there. But do you expect the Cavs to bounce back tomorrow against the Pacers?
Yeah, I actually took a pretty funky bet in this situation. I took Cavs to win the game and win the series in the parlay. I thought I was got like about a 35 cent difference in playing that way as opposed to just the Cavs winning. I know there's some funky series where both the road teams win the 2 games and the home team loses the 2 games, but that just doesn't happen enough. I don't see this Pacers team going out there and shooting 53% from 3-point again, right? The Cavs just like the Celtics, are a really good three-point shooting team, and they shot, 24% from deep. It's not going to happen. I am worried a little bit, though, because Darius Garland injury seems a little bit more serious than we kind of thought. And then now they're saying that Evan Mobley could be a doubt for this game. But this Cavaliers team is really good. They're really deep. If we get Evan Mobley, I think they'll still be fine without Darius Garland. Sure, we want Darius Garland for this next game, but in the grand scheme of things, you'd rather have him long term than just for one game and re-aggravate his toe injury.
I love that bet. So it's Cavs to win game number 2 and then go on to win the series. I think you and I agree. We have the Cavs are going to win this series, much like we believe the Celtics are going to win their series. In fact, looking at the odds, like as I mentioned, it's minus 300, minus 2 and change. But you do a two-leg parlay between the Celtics and the Cavs to win both of them win their series. It's a much better payout than it certainly was prior to the game 1 losses. Yeah. And I think that that's going to be the scenario that plays out here in the Eastern Conference. Also, tomorrow we have game number 1 between the Warriors and the Timberwolves. Timberwolves are a 7.5-point home favorite. What's your take on this game and the Warriors coming off of that game 7 win?
I'm kind of excited for this game, just like I was really excited for the Thunder and Nuggets first game, because the changes that happened with these teams for the Warriors, bringing in Jimmy Butler. Now we get to see how the Timberwolves kind of adapt to that. I have a hard time going ahead and laying Timberwolves -7, regardless of the fact that this Golden State Warriors team just came off of playing a 7-game series. Typically, when a team comes off a 7-game series, I want to lean towards laying the points there. It's Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. What I really like about this team, not just on the defensive aspect, right? That's pretty much cut and dry. Everyone knows this team was already a good defensive unit. Now they bring in Jimmy Butler, and that is elevated even more. It's the ability to go out there and still have a legitimate score when Steph Curry is getting a rest. Steve Kerr has been staggering the bench minutes for Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, which allows them to give Steph those longer blows and not go down on the box score, which helps a lot, and to say the very least, the closing ability of Jimmy Butler. And we can be excited about Jimmy Butler all day long and talk about how great he is defensively. But him in the fourth quarter, he's one of the most clutch players when push comes to shove. I think he at least keeps them in the game. If I could be totally wrong, but I just don't feel comfortable laying the 7.
He is Brad Thomas. Check his work out. He is at NBC Sports Bet. You can follow him on Twitter as well. What's the Twitter? Lord BLT, right? Is that what we got, Brad?
Yeah, at Mr. Brad Thomas.
Great stuff, Brad. Always appreciate the time and the insight. We'll catch up again soon. Good luck with your bets, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Take care.
There he is, Brad Thomas. He is there, NBC Sports Bet. Right now, 98-88. The Thunder lead the Nuggets with 9:39 to go in regulation. Your live line is Thunder -9.5. Your live total of 231.5. We did play an over here in the fourth quarter. Not looking great through the first couple of minutes. We're going to need a little scoring surge here, as there's only been 11 points scored. Although, I mean, it's only been, a minute or so? 2 minutes. We're 2 minutes or so. We need some points, I can tell you that. Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are approved. No usage fees, no minimums, and you can earn cashback rewards, 100% approval for all betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with promo code CASH. Deposit $25 and Edge Boost will match the deposit. That's edgeboost.bet. I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here on Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. You guys can hit me up on Twitter at Scott's On Air, SCOTTSONAIR. Thunder lead the Nuggets 100-90 with 8:29 to go in the fourth quarter. Live line Thunder -9.5, live total of 230.5. We need more points. and we need the Thunder to pull away because we do have the Thunder on the spread on a variety of spreads here, but we also did jump in on the over in the fourth quarter over 54.5, and we are just not getting the points right now here in the fourth quarter, but we'll see how this progresses throughout the remainder of this fourth quarter. Again, there is 8:16 remaining, 100-90. The Thunder leading the Nuggets, and your live line is Thunder minus 10.5 right now. In Major League Baseball, two games in progress. One of them you are in good shape for the over. The Mariners and A's are tied at 4 in the bottom of the fifth inning. We'll now go into the top of the sixth inning. They are tied at 4, which means that you have automatically cashed your over 8.5. Now, it did close at 9 on most books, so if you played the 9, you're at least guaranteed a push. So you got to feel good about that, right? You're at least guaranteed a push, but you could get yourself a victory. It's very conceivable that there's more than one run scored, especially should we get to extras and you have the ghost runner for both of these teams. No sweat there. You're in a great spot. Not so much with the Mets and the Diamondbacks. This one closed at 10. I got in on the 9.5, and right now the Mets with a 5-1 lead over the Diamondbacks in the seventh inning. Your live total is the 9.5 that it was before the game. I know it did get bet up to 10, but the live number is 9.5. Mets with the 5-1 lead over the Diamondbacks, and the Mets getting their runs. I mentioned earlier Pete Alonso with a 2-run home run in the bottom of the fourth inning, or top of the fourth inning, and then Francisco Lindor hit a 3-run home run in the top of the seventh, and that's where we are with this 5-1 score. Mets leading the Diamondbacks. I would sure love if someone could keep scoring. Let's get some more runs here in this game. I'd love to hit the over in both of these baseball games. We already know we got one, but we'd love to get them both. Speaking of overs, checking back in on what's going on between the Nuggets and the Thunder. It is 104-93, 7:21 to go in the game. Live total of 232.5. Live line, Thunder minus 10.5. And I do think the Thunder do pull away. I mentioned they were in a great position coming into this game. Yeah, maybe showing a little bit signs of rust with the long layoff, but historically, in the very few spots that we have the data from, teams that are on this long rest versus a team that's coming on the short rest here in the Nuggets after the Game 7, the long rest teams do extremely well. They do extremely well, not just straight up, but against the spread as well. So, and plus, just this series just feels like a mismatch. I mean, the Thunder are that good. If you look at all the advanced numbers, this is one of the great teams of all time. Like, that's not hyperbole. It's not me just saying that. Like, the net rating, all the advanced numbers do show you this Thunder team it put up historical numbers this year, historical stuff this year from the Oklahoma City Thunder. And there's a reason why they're overwhelming favorites to represent the Western Conference. And should they get by the Nuggets, which I do believe they do, I think that they're going to be completely fine against the Timberwolves or the Golden State Warriors. In fact, I think the Timberwolves get by the Warriors, and then Timberwolves against the Thunder. I mean, the Thunder, what a path. You thought maybe they'd have a hiccup along the way if they had to face maybe the Lakers or the Clippers, but they get past the Nuggets here, which they should. Then they're going to be even heavier favorites against the Warriors and the Timberwolves. The only thing that you concern yourself maybe with the Warriors is that the public might come in and kind of sway that line because the public loves backing the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. But I mentioned tomorrow we have the Pacers at the Cavaliers, and the Cavs are 9-point favorites. This line was at 9.5. It has been pushed down to 9. The whole zigzag theory of the Cavs coming off the Game 1 loss and then bouncing back in Game number 2. Let's see, I want to look something up here. If you lost as the favorite, okay, and, well, let's just call you the home favorite, and you're playing the next team again, let's see, in the playoffs, you are 57.8% ATS. Not that great, but let's look at recent history here because we want to narrow the field down. We don't want to go back. We want to look at the modern era of the NBA. So let's go post-COVID 2021. That seems fair. Since the 2021 season, this is even better. This makes me feel good. Since the 2021 season, you lose at home as a favorite, and then you are home the next game, 16-10 ATS, that's 61.5%, 18-8 straight up, 69%. Forget about being home. Just if you lose as a favorite the prior game at home, the next game in the series, you are 42-20 against the spread. Now that's wild. And looking at those home road splits, it makes me think like, wow, if you're actually on the road, it's better. So if you lose game number 2 at home as the favorite, in game number 3 on the road, you're 26-10 ATS. That is fantastic numbers. And both the Celtics and Cavaliers would qualify in this situation of 67.7% cover rate for the favorites that lose prior at home. And then, obviously are favored the next game. But those are alarming numbers there. We got a stoppage here going on in OKC. I guess there's an official review. I don't know what they're reviewing, but there was a player down on the ground, so maybe they're reviewing to see if there was a flagrant call or they have to upgrade a foul call. If there was a foul call, maybe they're upgrading that call. But let me see who was down and what the call was. All I'm seeing, let's look at the play-by-play and see if we have an update. But here's your score right now. With 6 minutes and 48 seconds remaining in the game, it is 104-95, Thunder leading the Nuggets. There's been 24 points scored in this fourth quarter, and so we're about halfway through the fourth quarter, and we're not on pace for our over. So we do need to pick up the scoring a little bit here in the fourth quarter, and right now your live line is the Thunder minus 9.5, but we have a stoppage here as they are reviewing this play. If it winds up being a situation where it is an extended foul, where it is a flagrant or whatever it was, then that's actually better for us and better for the over. If Oklahoma City is shooting free throws with possession, that would be very, very beneficial for us. So the Cavaliers, as I mentioned, 9-point favorites over the Pacers in that zigzag bounce-back situation. And the Warriors, 7-point dogs against Minnesota. And the reason why this spread is so high is because of the Game 7 factor. It's the Warriors coming off of Game 7, the historical trends of fading these teams that are on short rest, that are coming off of the Game 7s, and the Game 1 is historically a very profitable system for the home team in that role, which is the Minnesota Timberwolves. So not a lot of rest for the Warriors. It's a quick turnaround after that series, and let's just look at what the strength of the teams are. The Warriors had problems with the size of the Rockets. They're going to have similar problems with the size of the Timberwolves. They're going to have a lot of problems here in this series. Timberwolves match up very well with them. And the size, it's the same reason why, it was the issue with the Lakers. The Lakers couldn't deal with the size of Gobert down low, and I don't think that the Warriors can either. By the way, it is a flagrant foul on Nikola Jokic, so that's good for us because we love points from the Thunder and possession from the Thunder any way we can get them. So Thunder will be shooting free throw plus possession, so let's get a point on the board for free, free throw up, and good. And now let's get the possession and score again. Want to remind you guys that smarter bets start here and last all year long with VSiN Pro. For a limited time, we are slashing the price of our annual subscription. Normally $240, now just $199. And when you sign up today, we'll throw in an extra 2 months for free. That's 14 months of VSiN Pro access for less than 50 cents a day when you use promo code PRO. You get 14 months of access to our daily best bets from VSiN hosts and guests, exclusive splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 live video, and full show replays on the VSiN Watch app. Plus, all of our special edition betting guides. Head to vsin.com/subscribe now. Use promo code PRO and lock in 14 months of vsin Pro for just $1.99. That's vsin.com/subscribe. We roll on here, cashing out with me, Scott Seidenberg, here on vsin, the Sports Betting Network.